At the end of God of War Ragnarok, which was proclaimed to be the end of the Norse saga, Kratos sees a new path for himself, one he had never imagined, leading to masses of speculation about what this path is and when and where Kratos will take it. But then, all of a sudden, the Valhalla expansion comes out, putting Kratos on that path and giving a definitive answer to what its destination is. By defeating his demons, Kratos, the once reclusive warrior, has become the new Norse god of war. Not one driven by pain, loss, and conquest, but by hope. The conclusive ending to this chapter of Kratos' life, as well as many loose ends left by Ragnarok and Valhalla, create a pretty clear idea about where the God of War franchise and Kratos are going next. The main thing Valhalla's ending confirmed is that Kratos will remain in Scandinavia. He has found a family, friends, and now a title and a duty. At this point, it is safe to say that he calls the Norse realms his home. And even though Odin and Ragnarok are in the past, there's still plenty to do. The next clear stage of Kratos' story and the main struggle he will need to wrestle with is being the God of War, proving to himself and the people who rely on him that he is capable of upholding the position he chose to return to, being able to fill Tyr's shoes and making sure that the old God of War, the one he finally confronted and accepted, will not come out again. Naturally, whatever conflict comes Kratos' way next will challenge that. Throughout Valhalla, Freyja and Sigrun talk about the new peacekeeping council that is likely to be a part of the new, much more democratic government following the death of Odin. It's expected to include Kratos, Freyja, Tyr, Mimir, Sif, Hildisvini, possibly Durlin, and likely representatives of other races and realms like Bela and Bigvir, for example. The fact that this council is mentioned so frequently throughout the DLC pretty much guarantees we will see it in action. These transitional, turbulent times for the realms are likely to brew conflict, putting the council and its God of War to the test. The first possible candidate to cause conflict are the remaining Aesir still loyal to Odin's regime. The god of justice Forseti is mentioned throughout Ragnarok, but we never saw him in person and his current fate is unknown. The game was extremely vague about what Aesir gods exist, where they are, and how many survived Ragnarok, so it is up to Santa Monica's imagination to choose whatever gods they want to introduce, if any. But even on his own, Forseti could prove to be a powerful antagonist to Kratos, desiring justice for the deaths of Heimdall and Odin, and Baldur, and Magni. But even beyond that, the moral implications of Ragnarok and the hardships that followed could play a massive role in the future narrative. Although Odin was objectively pretty evil, and Kratos made it a priority to save as many people as possible, he still led an army to war, knowing full well from prophecy that it would spell doom for an entire realm. How many innocents of all races died in the wake of chaotic destruction? The surviving Aesir are now forced to live in a new realm, sharing supplies and space with their mortal enemies, the Vanir. The elven peace holds, but without Freyr, will it last? Valhalla suggests the dwarves are struggling without the Allfather, who's been a vital part of their existence for so long, and they don't have a leader to look up to at the moment. A new government is being established, but will it hold? Will the realms truly thrive after such disruption? Was Ragnarok worth it? These are all solid arguments Forseti could use to undermine the trust in the current regime and make people question the new God of War, who's meant to inspire hope, and whether Kratos made the right choice to take the throne. And of course, cause some physical trouble as well, because this is a video game, we need things to kill. A character who may play an important role in this instance is Thrud. She was given special attention after Ragnarok and is likely to play a significant role in the future. Valhalla pretty much confirms she will finally achieve her dream of becoming a Valkyrie, and of course, she also possesses Mjolnir, so she seems to be eager to clear the reputation of her last name and her father's infamous weapon. if the remaining Aesir return and start a conflict, she will be caught in a crossfire. She has fully joined the side of the quote-unquote good guys, but the Aesir are her people, her family. Being asked to fight her own with Mjolnir of all things may create an extremely compelling conflict for Thrud. And that extends to Sif as well, of course. The one very likely forced to disrupt peace is Sindri. After Adam J. Harrington's
no comment,
the dwarf is all but confirmed to return. We have no hint as to what exactly Sindri will want or do, but if we parallel him to Kratos, as the Spartan was about to complete his arc of vengeance and redemption, Sindri had only started it. He had experienced the death of his brother, again, and killed the person responsible. In Kratos' terms, he only went through God of War 1, and as we know, following that, Kratos was unable to forget the terrors of his past, so the hatred for the gods festered within him, until he finally burst, proclaiming revenge and death to Olympus. If we follow that pattern, Sindri might return to execute revenge. Despite Odin's killing, the pain of Brock's death may still be strong within him, and Sindri might be looking for a scapegoat to blame for his misery. Seeing how destructive and powerful Sindri was during Ragnarok, it's easy to imagine how the God of War 3 version of him may pose catastrophic danger to the realms. And of course, this will be a matter personal to Kratos, once again a reminder of the cost paid for peace and prosperity. Although, knowing Sindri, at the end, I would expect him to come around, much like Freya, but for the time being, we may expect Sindri to be a threat. This is me completely spitballing here now, but the combination of Forseti and Sindri could cause interesting situations. Both the Aesir and Sindri may seek retribution of some kind, but at the same time, Forseti might be interested in bringing the dwarf to justice, being the All-Father's killer and all. This could create an interesting dynamic of double threats, Mexican standoffs, and unlikely alliances, but that's just a random idea without any basis for it. Of course, if Ragnarok really is the end of the Norse saga, the conflict may come from somewhere else. With the threat of Odin and Ragnarok itself in the past, it may be time to look elsewhere and challenge Kratos' prowess in international relations, as we've all been expecting. After all, what better way to test a god of war than war? This idea has been floating around since Ragnarok came out, but a foreign invasion might be the best way to give a new challenge to Kratos. Throughout the games, we have rarely ever seen Kratos defend in war. Even at Ragnarok, he was the general of the offensive army. And the few times he did, his sole goal was the death of the invader. He clearly did not care for any casualties or collateral damage.
The city had been saved, and would thrive again.
Did it, Patrick! We saved the city!
But now, the priorities are different. Kratos' goal as the god of war is safety and protection of his people, and it's not as easy to do when you're not the attacker for once. We don't have any clues as to who or why might invade the realms, but I know that it will challenge Kratos in a way we've never seen before. It would make the people and Kratos himself question his ability to give people hope and be the god of war. Depending on how dire this war gets, Kratos may once again be compelled to turn to his old ways and get rid of the problem Greece style, but this would go against everything he built, and is the reason why he feared this throne in the first place. It's a bit of a rehash of Ragnarok, so I'm not sure they'll want to do that again, but it is a possibility. The biggest issue with this concept is that we would once again spend our time in the Norselands, which is not necessarily a bad thing. We got 6 games in Greece after all, but the fans are itching for new pantheons and new lands, and that is a very real possibility as well now. With the real tier back and the Unity Stone still very much available, it's never been easier to go in any other place in the world. As God of War, it would make perfect sense for Kratos to exercise his predecessor's diplomatic efforts, both to improve inter-pantheon relationships and for experience and enlightenment, like picking up different cool weapons from different regions. That's a good way to it. Enlightenment. The main benefit of that is meeting new gods, experiencing new cultures, and playing in new locations. The main problem is that it's entirely unclear what conflict Kratos may find for himself, since butting heads with gods is the last thing he would want to do now. To be completely honest, we currently have zero concrete hints as to what mythology we may see next, or whether there will be a new one at all, but the time feels right to expand the world in this new chapter of God of War. Shifting gears a little bit, a possibility that's becoming increasingly popular is that of a remake of the Greek games. The classic God of Wars are extremely uncomfortable to play on the modern consoles, only available through streaming, and the PSP titles Chains of Olympus and Ghosts of Sparta have disappeared off of PS Plus, period. There is no way to play those games on modern consoles right now, even though they're heavily mentioned in Ragnarok and Valhalla. And now, with the release of Valhalla, Santa Monica have faithfully reintroduced some classic locations, enemies, and Kratos himself into the modern engine, almost a proof of concept for how amazing a remake could be. Valhalla celebrates the entire story and legacy of Kratos, but experiencing it properly is extremely inconvenient at the moment. Not only would a remake fix that problem, but also introduce a whole new generation to these classics, especially since they're back in the zeitgeist thanks to Valhalla. Since Ragnarok's release, there's been much speculation about whether we can expect projects without Kratos as the protagonist. And after Valhalla's definitive ending, I would argue it's even more likely now. One such project could be a prequel Norse game. Adam's
no comment
was a reply to Sindri's reaction to seeing Faye, which led many, including myself, to wonder whether we can expect a Laufey project during her Guardian years. I've made a big video about why such a game could be great. It will be linked at the end. Another hint towards a prequel is Cory Barlog's comment about Jormungandr. The only missing piece of the Serpent's journey we haven't seen yet is him arriving in the past after being sent there by Thor at Ragnarok. Cory specifically questions how this happened, so it is very likely that this will be a plot point in a future game, possibly in a prequel, so we can physically see Jormi drop into the Lake of Nine. This could be explored in a sequel as well, since the serpent was specifically mentioned in Valhalla, but it seemed more like bringing the player up to speed about the state of the realms, rather than a hint of the future. Also, now is probably a good time to remind everyone that we still don't know who or why did that one thing, so that's something yet to be explored as well. Now, there are zero hints towards this, just a thought on my end, but after seeing him in action in Valhalla, Tyr could be a worthy playable character in a prequel since he was up to a lot during his time as God of War, but again, there is zero evidence for this, and I still maintain that Faye would be a better protagonist for a prequel. Lastly, I'd like to bring up what I believe to be the most likely project to come next. An Atreus game. Whatever uncertainty was left of Kratos' future at the end of Ragnarok, Valhalla dispelled it. It was a decisive, conclusive, satisfying ending to the current chapter of Kratos. His story is by no means over, but perhaps now is the perfect moment to shift our attention to Atreus' story. See him come out into the adult world by himself for the first time. See what kind of man and god he will turn out to be. See him make mistakes on his own and have to fix them without his father's guidance or help. What exotic lands will Loki travel to find the Jotnar? What gods will he meet? What will happen when he finds the giants? Will they even want to return home after centuries of genocide? Will they be nearly as pure and wise as the tale suggests? And will Atreus have to take on the responsibility of helping, saving, and even ruling them, being the champion of the Jotnar? He is the god of mischief, and he causes it, whether he likes it or not. What devastating consequences would Loki's actions bring? Will Atreus be able to take control of Loki and all that name means? Will he do good, or will he lie, manipulate, and cause mischief? There is so much to explore with this character. It was confirmed by Santa Monica that in Ragnarok, Atreus was meant to feel like a companion. That's why he didn't receive his own melee weapon, and why his abilities and skills were so limited. He couldn't possibly compare to Kratos because he was just a kid sneaking out to cause trouble, but in his own solo game where he is the main focus, that would not be a concern at all. Of course, he would receive a full arsenal of abilities. Of course, he would receive his own weapons on his own path. He has shape-shifting abilities that can be expanded in incredible ways for combat, traversal, or even puzzles. He possesses Jotnar magic. That could go in a number of different directions. Atreus was pretty annoying and cocky in Ragnarok because he was 15. In his own game, he would be an adult, on his own, in an adult world with adult consequences and responsibilities. I know I'm in a vast minority for wanting this to happen, but if I know one thing about Santa Monica, is that they listen and try to fix the shortcomings of the previous games. They're fully aware of the issues people have with the Atreus' section's gameplay, pacing, and even characterization, and I have absolutely zero doubt that all of that will be addressed in his own game. Atreus is not here to replace Kratos. He's not here to take over the God of War franchise. If anything, Valhalla showed Santa Monica's love and dedication to Kratos. Kratos is here to stay. He always was and will be the God of War. Atreus is his own person. He is Loki, the trickster god. He has his own story and his own journey that can exist alongside Kratos's. That bit was a little off topic, but I say all this because I hope people can see the massive potential an Atreus game and Atreus as a character have. All that aside, coming back on track, if we look at the fact that Atreus is playable at all, and at his dramatic exit that Cory Barlog specifically requested to happen, it becomes clear that a Loki-focused game is pretty much inevitable. And also, Sunny doing a pretty poor job at hiding this fact.
If they do start working on another project, I would love to do that, but...
Are they working on anything you can talk about right now?
No, nothing.
Nothing you can talk about,
No,
or nothing at all?
Nothing I know of.
Nothing you know of? Nothing?
Nothing.
Why are you hanging out with the Bill Clinton kid, Sonny? What are you doing? It's an exciting time for God of War. We're on the eve of a new chapter, and there are many directions the franchise could go. I'm really excited to hear your guys' thoughts and continue to speculate together in the comments, or learn how stupid I am for wanting an Atreus game because his sections were lame and Ironwood was boring. Now, you can watch the prequel video I mentioned, or you can press this circle thing on the book, whatever that does, or you can become a member and get early access to videos, or you can do none of those things. It's up to you. Freedom of choice is a beautiful thing.